Hello and welcome to Women Who Heal. I'm your host, Natalie Ryan Hebert, and today I'm interviewing a past client of mine named Jemma, who worked with me around 3 years ago. Despite being really successful in her career and in other areas of her life, Jemma had this self-worth that used to really crash, especially around her luteal phase. So we worked together and everything really drastically changed for the better, and I'm looking forward to sharing her story with you here today. So hi Jemma, it's so amazing to see you again. We've just been pre-chatting and it's been almost 3 years since you worked with me, and I sent an email out to previous clients and you wrote back saying, yeah, I'll come on your podcast. So thank you so much. And we're just going to dive straight in. I don't even know what you're going to say. So
I'm actually really looking forward to doing it very bravely as well. I feel almost part of the transition is the fact that, I do feel comfortable, confident, and able to be able to sort of have this chat openly on here. So, all positive.
yeah, definitely. I mean, there was a time I wouldn't have spoken to anybody about my stuff, and now I tell anyone. I don't care, because you end up knowing that your own love for yourself is the most important one, and you've got that, and your own opinion of yourself is the one that matters most. And so, what can anyone really do? And you just feel so much more. I guess you just feel safe to be yourself in the world. So I just want you to share your story. Our stories are so powerful. Each of us have our own unique journey, but it might register with somebody else or resonate with someone else that they say, "My gosh, that's just like me." Or so. I just would love you to share your story. How did you come to find me, and where were you in your life when that sort of became a relevant thing to
I mean,
talk
probably
about?
like most people who come to find you, not in the best of places or perceived to be not in the best of places. As you know, I'd been struggling for a long, long time, almost for as long as I can remember, probably not even far off being a sort of adolescent teenager, with
Mm,
my periods, with my mood swings, although I was completely unaware of any behaviours then being anything other than what other people or anyone would have put them down to, whether that was a teenager or in a relationship or menopause or whatever it is. There was always kind of reasonings for it.
mm,
And lots of people, as you know, when I worked with you, had, take had pulled me out about certain behaviours that I had, especially not always positively. Um, so I came to see you because I suppose a bit out of desperation, but also because I felt really safe and trusted on the times that we'd spoken with each other. Um, and I'd got in touch with you because somebody else had actually recommended you or hadn't actually worked with you but knew about you, a
mm.
confidant, and they'd sort of said to me maybe it was something that I could work with. Um, it took a bit of time to get the confidence, but when I did, and it was a difficult time, so it was COVID and everything had just gone on.
Mm.
Um, but it's been incredible, the journey sort of from the start. And strangely, in fact, I mentioned it to the person who had recommended you last night. And strangely, I remember you saying to me at the time of doing the work, it won't be like you'll wake up the next day and suddenly all these things have changed, but it will be a kind of transitional thing over a period of time. And I
Mm.
suppose that's what I'm so excited to speak to you now, you're saying 3 years on, because lots of things that we addressed or we talked about have changed. But I wasn't aware at that time that that was kind of even a possibility.
Something I often say is, it's like we're changing the coordinates. If you change the coordinates of a ship, where it was going to go compared to where it ends up, you might just change the coordinates by a few degrees, but put time on that, and where the ship ends up to where compared to where it would have gone is just, so far apart because you've changed the coordinates. And that's sort of what we do. We change the beliefs which would have led you down a different path. It really is creating your own destiny, this work, instead of just running with your fated program. You get to go and say, well, hang on a minute, is that even true? Am I going to just run the rest of my life believing that? And then when you make these upgrades, or I like to say that we outgrow the beliefs more than we change them, because you could still think back and say, yeah, I remember that. And it's not like you forget who you used to be or you forget your story, but you outgrow the meaning that you gave to it back then. You sort of really step into your adult understanding. And
I think there were so many things that I didn't realise that, and even at the time thinking that some of the things couldn't even be true. And obviously the regression, we'll get into that into a bit more detail. But, even at the time you're sort of thinking that seems a bit odd and you're challenging it and questioning it. But I can honestly say at the end now, 3 years on, with so many things and some of the things that we did address and where those relationships are now, and with things that I never thought would get resolved. Excuse me as well if I get a bit emotional about it, but things that I never thought would get resolved have managed to get resolved, but not even consciously, which is the thing that I kind of found most amazing about the experience. Is it made me address things that I wasn't necessarily comfortable or found easy to address. We worked really deep and on lots of things that had been hit, things that I needed to sort of bring out or wasn't sure that were there. Went through that, but the kind of transition of the acceptance, which I think there's been so much subconsciousness about it, is that other things have happened, like relationship with my father, which maybe we'll touch on, and things like that, which have come back, but without me consciously going out and searching for it and finding it. I just feel like something had obviously changed, that either I was more open to it, or it's really hard to explain. And I think my only nervousness about doing the podcast was it's almost difficult to put it into words or to explain what happens. I feel like something's gone on in there and I can't even always
yeah,
identify
totally.
what it is. And into a moment, and then sometimes something will happen and I sit and think, well, I wonder if that's related, or it must be related, because it almost isn't something that you subconsciously do or try to fix. It's like it is about the belief of yourself, just makes you more open, I think, to being able to amend some of the things that you might have found issues before. Any of that makes sense.
Yeah, I know I know what you're saying. I always talk about relationship dynamics, and everything's a relationship. Your relationship with the universe is a relationship. Your relationship with people, everything is a relationship, and there is a dynamic there. And what I find the most rewarding work, along with PMDD, is helping people shift these relationship dynamics, not by saying, hey, listen, you need to change, person in my life who's annoying me, or, oh, dad, you should have done better, or pointing the finger and blaming, which is the easiest thing to do. It's very easy to see where others are falling short, but we can't see ourselves because we're inside ourselves, and everything just, it's all subjective. But when we do this inner work, we make these inner shifts, and all the relationships are, it's like a pie chart. If you're taking up all the pie chart, let's just say, for example, you're in a relationship where you feel like you're doing everything all the time and your partner's slacking off and it's all on me and I resent this, and the martyrdom and the slacker dynamic. You know, you can try all day long to get the partner to pick up the slack a bit more. They won't, so long as you're in martyrdom and playing that role of it's all got to be me. I can't trust anyone. I can't rely on anyone. So I'll work with that belief. Where did you ever come to believe you couldn't rely on people? And we heal that, and then that changes. They don't have to do anything. They just change on the inside, like you're talking about, and the dynamic shifts. It's like the pie chart shifts. There's more space for the other person to fill up, and it becomes more balanced instead of imbalanced. So when we make these changes, our whole world shifts in response to who we become, which is
And I remember you saying that to me, but it seeming like such a, I mean, I couldn't even, I'm quite a realist, and it seemed like such a strange thought process.
mm,
Um, but I can honestly say, yeah, it really has sort of worked like that. So I think when I first came to you, I was in a come out of quite a difficult relationship where, I felt like my personality was being completely challenged and completely questioned. And for someone who always thinks they're really good at kind of looking at themselves, I wanted to correct that, not just for myself, but also to understand which part of that was me, or which part of that was almost the negativity of the relationship. I just lost all sense of being able to understand or believe what
mm,
part of it was me, what part of it was kind of like the negativity of the relationship and the gaslighting. I've
yeah,
also got a child I wanted to be the best person I could for. The relationship had started to affect the relationship with my son. I mean, when I look back now, and there was no other help outside, I knew that I wasn't in a good place, but it was hard to manage like where to go, but wanted to try and get that fixed. And I think also working with you showed me was the parts of it, again, whether that was consciously or subconsciously, and through the regression and the therapy, it was that I kind of understand now which parts were me. And of course, I was completely not blameless. I know that. But it wasn't done in a negative way where I felt like I didn't come out of it thinking, well, that was the bit you were wrong for, and that was the bit. It was like it made me just address that there can be other people in the situation, that not all of it is totally down to you, and that factors affecting your behavior can be external or internal. So you made me look at myself, you made me look at the things that are happening outside, and be able to kind of put those in a format that I could understand, where before that they were all really hazed. I
Or be
couldn't understand, yeah.
Yeah, because we tend to attract partners that are going to show us where we need healing. That we don't. That's what chemistry is. When people say, "Oh my gosh, there was such chemistry," it's like, okay, get ready for the ride of your life. This person has everything you need to bring everything up to the surface. They've got what you've pushed down. That's what chemistry often is. It's the opposites attract. Oh, he's so outgoing. Yeah, because you're really shy and you've locked that part of yourself away. And it eventually becomes triggering, the thing that attracts you often. Um, so, and then there's also, I talk about integrity a lot, where we have holes in our integrity, where we're willing to betray ourselves to make another person happy or, um, yeah, for their people pleasing, really, um, running ourselves under the bus to avoid rejection or punishment or humiliation or losing love. And if you have that, then you sort of end up getting bad behavior from your partner, not realizing, oh, I'm enabling this because, well, whatever you allow will continue. You sort of so they're there to show you, wow, where are the holes that I need to heal over? Um, so yeah, I think if that's what you were saying, I think it's
Yeah, and I've always gone before for the same type of guy, and the relationship's always ended for exactly the same exactly the same
yeah.
reason. I
Mhm.
think because of my own valuing of myself not being particularly positive, it means that I've gone down those types of relationships that I can now really clearly see weren't positive,
Yeah,
for me. And as I've got my own business. I'm quite successful in that way. But I would always go for guys almost not less successful. That sounds awful, because it wasn't a conscious decision, but almost toxic, because I felt that I went for people that I believed to be the same level of my own value. And then as I learned, which is where I'd say I've moved to now, is that
mhm,
where I've learned to understand my own value. Actually, I've not chosen to get into another relationship, but not because I don't think of my value, because actually I'm choosing to value myself, go on the journey of myself. And
yeah,
actually, what I've realized is that I don't need a relationship. There's not a big void there that I need to fill with a relationship to be happy. Actually, I
yeah,
feel like I'm still on the journey of trying to find out what I want to do, and not without there being some lustful encounters or things like that, but all in a way that's been so much more positive and my choice. And I've not come, and none of them haven't brought me something that I really have taken away as like a stitch in my blanket, as opposed to coming away with any kind of tragedy about it.
amazing.
So I don't, I'm not here to say, oh, it's given me the most amazing relationship, and I'm more open to all of that. But I'm definitely more open to what my needs are. And some people may feel that their need is to have one partner, one relationship. For me, I feel like it kind of showed me that I just want to enjoy these years without the kind of
Mhm.
the stress of that. If that's fair to say, I don't know.
No, it's far, but I think, I mean, before I got together with my husband, I said I would, I would, the next time I'm in love or the next time I come into a relationship, it's going to have to be so good. Like, it's going to have to be so good for me to compromise, because a relationship is a compromise. For me to make any compromise to what the relationship I already have with myself, like where I've got to, because I was divorced, and where I got myself to by the time we met was like, and I didn't think we were going to get together. We met at a New Year's Eve party. I thought, oh
I
God,
remember, yeah.
probably never see him again. But anyway, um, but being able to say, like, I said, it's going to be mutual adoration or nothing. I'm just not interested in anything less. And I really I set the bar, and I was very happy to be in my own company and with my girlfriends, and, there's a lot that being single can offer. I mean, single motherhood was pretty tough, I got to say. Like, I really appreciate having a partner to do parenting with now, but and we have 2 more children since then, so grateful because it's a heavy job. I really take my hat off to the single mums out there. Um, but yeah, no, I get it. Just you better to be on your own than in the wrong relationship, just for the sake of it.
Yeah, definitely, and not in a, I'm really enjoying. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy my time. I've met some incredible people, and yeah, all bring a value in some way, and definitely not the sort of people that I would have met before. All people that I'm valuing, and also meeting people not just with kind of love or lust involved. I've met some really good people that, because I'm not searching for that, or because I'm not trying to see the value of them through there being some kind of sexual chemistry, or me trying to prove myself to them, because I'm just delivering myself almost as a
Mhm,
normal person. I've made some incredible friendships. And so there's less of a desire to, apart from a sexual desire, of course, but there's less of a desire to have. I'm not looking for someone to fulfill all of those parts, because, I've made some really good friendships and male friendships and things that I couldn't, because the value of myself, and they value me. And one thing that I really will say about the program is that I really, hand on heart, can say that I really know who I feel me now. I know who I am. I don't have any, there's still elements. I still can get a bit anxious about, going into rooms. I still have those things. But what I do know is that when I do speak to someone, the person who I'm delivering hasn't got anything to hide, which is just such an amazing feeling.
amazing thing. Yeah, gosh, it's so common for people to be wearing a mask. Like, who do I need to be for people to like me? What and I think this is one of the wonderful things about getting older as well. You hear women say all the time, from sort of 45 plus and up, just going, I just don't care what anyone thinks about me anymore.
Yeah. I mean, the best time of my life.
Yeah, but there's a bit of a journey to get there, I think. I don't think it's easy for everybody, I think, but I think it does help when estrogen starts to decline. They call estrogen the accommodating hormone. I heard someone say that, perimenopause, menopause is like breaking free from the estrogen cage. And I thought, what an interesting concept, that we're actually caged by this accommodating hormone that makes it's okay, it's okay. No, it's fine. We come to it, no, it's actually not fine. I've worked out it's actually not fine. And I'm making some changes. So there are some positives to getting older. Yeah. So that's really wonderful, because when you can show up, when you can just be, look, I'm just going to be me, and it's literally, it's just take it or leave it, because I'm not leaving me, and so I've got me. My love's the greatest love there is. I've got that connection. If you like me, great. If you don't, that's cool, because I've got the greatest relationship anyway. But then I often hear this from people where when they've got that masking going on, they can't connect and they feel like they don't have any close friendships. And they're trying so hard to be liked. But the harder you try to be liked, the more lonely you feel, because the real you is underneath this thick mask. And even if you did fit in, it's not for real. And it only makes you feel worse. So to be able to say, here I am, masks off, I don't need to perform for you, I don't need you to like me, you often become more likable because
Yeah, I mean, it's an unbelievable place. I can't sort of stress it enough. And, and like I say, as a realist, and to anyone who's listening who thinks it all sounds, it is just really impossible to explain. It's just that feeling of kind of, and it's still a process. And I said to you, and we got just literally for a couple of minutes before this started, but I have your recording, I still listen to it. There are times when I feel triggered by certain things, or I still find that, but I don't feel fearful of it, like I'm gone back and I'm in this really dark space. I feel like, okay, I just need a little touch up. I just need a little kind of, a gentle little, it might be a couple of nights of listening to it or falling asleep, and then it's almost like it's there again. And but I don't think anyone can say that they're ever completely perfect or completely, and that's maybe not what anyone's even searching for. But I definitely
no, I mean,
feel
honestly,
that there was an amazing, something amazing came out of it. And some of it, like I said, is conscious, and lots of it is subconscious. but I definitely feel a lot better now, a lot happier now than I ever did for the
Yeah.
sort of 30 years of life before that, when I think my hormones came into play.
Yeah, yeah, they do. They are like truth serum, you know. But it's I think they really show you what's there when that when the hormones shift. There's it's like here's all your stuff. There's no way you can't run. You're plunged into it. It's really kind of treacherous waters there, isn't it? Can really pull you under. So, what was I going to say? So, with the relationships, do you want? Have you got any examples? And it's up
I
to you.
mean, I can say about the relationship with my father. So, to just get too much, not to go into sort of too much detail, but I'm from a big family, but my older sister and me are from my father, and then my mum married again. And it was just a difficult relationship, I think, from the start. And I wouldn't have realised that so much of me had been sort of affected by that. But he, would come and collect my sister and not take me out. And there was just sort of lots of things around that. Or I remembered there being lots of things about that. But sort of, again, like I said, not really sort of in my mind. Anyway, he emigrated, came to see my sister before he left, not me. I never really got sort of over that. I wrote a letter which never got a reply. And at one time, obviously I shared with you, I text every day for a year and didn't get any reply. And then I did some work with you, and we went back, which I wouldn't have even known, but regressed back to a time, and I could see something that I didn't even know whether it was a real thing or not, because we were just somewhere, and then I was sort of explaining to you what I could see, and then I wouldn't have even known. And then actually spoke to my mum about it after, and she was like, yeah, we did have a step like that, we did have all these things anyway. So that
That's
was
when
obviously,
when you're in the pram.
yeah, I was in the pram.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I was saying that I could see my dad walking ahead with my sister holding her hand, and then my mum, and I was in those old-fashioned prams in the back, sitting on one of those really old seats that used to sit on the top. And I just remember looking at my mum's face, thinking that she seemed sort of really unhappy. Anyway, we got to the front door, which again I couldn't have remembered. Got to the front door, my dad had gone in, and then my mum was struggling to bump the pram up. And when we got to the kitchen, he'd got an ice cream for my sister. He didn't even acknowledge me, and he hadn't got one out for me. This is what I saw when I went back into the regression with you. And anyway, you made me, not made, you asked me, or together we worked on going back, not made, sorry, to go back and basically sit with him at the table and speak to him about what I wanted to do. So that was obviously 3 years ago. I never thought that relationship would ever come into fruition. My sister has stayed in touch with him all these years, and I've always had some concerns about whether that had been her influence within that relationship had not necessarily also made it positive. But anyway, here we are 3 years later, 20 years later, in terms of our relationship. And somebody was visiting over from Australia, so he's got a new girlfriend, and she'd contacted me and asked if I wanted to join them for lunch. I didn't mention it to my sister. I just was at the lunch when she arrived, which also gave me the answer about my sister, but because she wasn't expecting to see me there. And since then, it's been fine. And we saw each other over Christmas. We spent time with each other, kind of just nothing's been mentioned. I haven't felt the need to go back there and get answers from him. I haven't felt the need for him to explain himself to me. I haven't felt the need for any of that. I'm just delivered in a room as me, as my person. I'm not worried about the reasons for it. For some reason, I don't want to go over it. I just want to look at the years we've got left and make the best of those. And I don't have any guilt. I feel really proud when I'm with him that he looks at me proudly, where I used to think that he didn't. I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't have no fear of being in the environment with him anymore, or how he might view me. I just really believe that I'm the best version of myself, and whether he could see it those years or not, I know I am. That's it.
Yeah, how amazing is that? And
Unbelievable, yeah.
different that must feel for him, you know, because he would have been feeling a certain way, or guilt, or oh, I can't face her, or who knows what was going on. But it would have been, oh, this is uncomfortable, this is awkward. And when all that passed, all that pain just gets alchemized, or you sort it out, you heal it. You go and do the work back in the past where it needs to be done to put everything to bed. And how can we explain it, but other than we must be connected beyond what we can, like bodies in front of each other, or body language, because even on the other side of the world, or that something changes and it's felt. somehow inside, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just really, I mean, it's, he set up a WhatsApp group called My Favourite Girls, which is just, I mean, it's just like something, and put my
Wow.
sister and I on to make any arrangements. I mean, I can't explain without actually getting quite emotional about it. I mean, this is just like something you never ever thought. I mean, I just couldn't even comprehend it. And, I'm not going to lie, there were times when there was real hurt and real sort of hatred, as hard as that is a word to even say now. I even hate using the word hate because it's just
Mm.
not a word that I want to use. But I can't almost recognise how angry and upset I was then, because it just seems like a lifetime ago, even
Yeah,
though nothing actually happened where we sat down and hashed it apart, or we didn't do any of that. I just don't feel in that place anymore. I don't feel upset by it or triggered. I just can't explain how I just don't associate myself with the person that almost sat with you. I just don't see who she was.
yeah. I hear that a lot. I read back some of the things, we have an intake form at the beginning, of course, and I read back things that my clients have said even just 30 days earlier, and they can't even relate to who they used to be. They're like,
It
wow.
makes me go cold as I'm sitting here now. I'm literally like shivering. I just can't even. It just feels like a lifetime ago. It's
Mm,
crazy.
yeah. And then you've got 3 years on top of that. This is 30 days on, you're already saying, wow. I remember you sent me a picture of these trees in your backyard
Yes.
that you used to look at, and there would be sort of light shining on one and then shadow on the other, and you always felt like that was a representation of your brain or something like that. And you said, I
Yeah.
know this sounds out there, and maybe, but I know you'll understand
Yeah, I know. I sent you a
it.
picture of the tree in the garden, and I said, "This tree's always been really dark. It's always been something when I've wanted to, I've gone out in the garden, I've had a cigarette, I've stared at the trees, I've kind of been looking at it almost like in that darkness to escape the home, and kind of look out there, and felt like it kind of engulfed me in the darkness that I felt like my life was." And then it was after my work with you, I remember sending you a picture of it and saying, "Oh my God, can you see it's light now? You can see the moon behind it. You can see that it was as if it completely took a completely different place." It seems so crazy to say,
You're-
but it
yeah.
was crazy.
Yeah. Same thing. Nothing. The trees are the same. Your perception's completely different. So before you saw so much darkness, and after the work together, you started to see all the light in your life that had always been there, just waiting for you to open up your perception to see it.
And I
Um,
think one of the other things I really remember about it one of the things that always resonates with me about our conversations was that I remember saying to you, which I think I've spoken to other women and or friends, and I think maybe not as deep as me, but where I felt like I was standing outside my house window and looking in at my home, and everybody in there was having a good time, and I felt I was on the outside.
mm,
And even though it was my home, and everyone, my son was in there and everything, I just always felt like I was on the outside looking in, almost trying to get into the happiness that I might have been in there that I couldn't see,
yeah.
that I
Yeah.
felt like I was outside. And now I just don't have that feeling at all. It's just,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like almost a self-consciousness, isn't it? Of I don't fit. Oh, look at them. How come everyone else seems to know how to belong and I'm on the outside? It's so common. I really have heard that a lot, and I've felt that myself too. I think we've all felt that, but everyone has felt like the weirdo and the one that can't connect, and everyone else seems to belong. But you got to remember, people are looking at you thinking the same thing. How come Gemma's got it so easy, or Natalie's got it? Look at she can always just strike up a conversation with anyone. Look how confident she is. I think it's a human thing we all have in common. The thing that connects us is that none of it is that we all feel disconnected. Um, yeah, so
I think the main thing is about the work is that it's much deeper. Like it's, I think it works much deeper than you can kind of imagine. And I think we're all really conscious about the top line irritations of things like the noise of, of the misophonia and the noise of people in here or not wanting to go to cinema. All of those top line heightened things that we all feel in moments of hormonal or unbalance are really just the top layer. And I think they're the things that you think are it, but there's so much more underneath that. And I think what's for me was good about your program is that all of my my feelings inside came out in small annoyances that people used to think, oh, she's always stressed, or she's always this. Why does that? How can you hear that noise? Why is that annoying you? And it was because it was like the top level of focus that I could let other people know, but it was because I wasn't aware that there was so much underneath. And I'm not going to say now the noise of someone eating popcorn in the cinema doesn't still annoy me, but, but it's definitely, I feel like I've worked underneath, and I see those just as kind of little branches of the top of the, like my trunk of tree, which is inside, which has been addressed, and that's
Mm.
was where more of the kind of pain and hurt was. So, anyone that thinks, there's still things that are really annoying and still things that normal things that would frustrate, but I definitely know internal and deep works happened.
Yeah. And I'm interested to know because, before working with me, you were already very successful, high achiever. And this is a thing, often high achievement can be a bit of a trauma response, I'll prove how worthy I am. And a lot of people, especially men who work with me actually, are a little bit afraid of me messing with that in any way because they think, but what if I lose all my drive? The thing that drives my success, if you, in inverted commas, fix that, am I still going to strive for anything? And what's going to be my motivation to climb the mountain? So I'd be interested to hear from you as a, successful woman of the world with your own company and all of that. What's happened since our work together?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I was always, working, and, I was quite successful. My business is still going 15 years later, still successful, more successful, I would say. I think the main thing here for me is that I didn't think I was sort of deserved of its success before.
Mm,
And if anyone used to say, but why is it, why do you think you're so successful? Why do you think that? And I would never have been able to say, because I've worked really hard, because I deserve it, because I put the hours in, because I value it. I would
mm,
have just thought that, well, I don't know why it is, I don't know. Or I would have felt, I used to think that work was where I went for a safe space, and I still do, and I love work. But
mm,
I actually see it with its value as opposed to it being that. So I'm definitely getting more out of work. I used to go to work, and used to think the success of work was because I went there to escape everything else that was going on. But now I realise that I might have gone there for that reason, but what I achieved was my own.
mm. And are you now able to receive more of your success? As
Yeah,
in,
because that was the other thing.
like,
Yes.
are you able to let it in, like actually allow a sense of, hey, wow, and appreciate yourself, praise yourself, celebrate yourself, spoil yourself?
Yeah, because I think you'll remember, because my son always used to say, because as you know, I was a single parent since I separated from my partner when I was 5 months pregnant, and I think I always had a sense of feeling I needed to sort of achieve for him, but also that I had the weight of the world in terms of, you know, needing to make sure that financially I could do everything. Of course, things have got easier. He's got older. He's
Mm.
turning 18 actually in a couple of weeks' time.
Oh,
So
wow.
I know, which is crazy. But I think, and if you ask him, that's what's made me think about him, because he always used to say, I was always really good at treating everybody else, but never treating myself. But if anyone saw my Chanel shoe collection now, they'd realise that that's changed. Yeah. And not that I'm putting value on that in the way of, but I'm in the fashion business, as you know, and I absolutely love fashion.
Mm,
And but I would never kind of allow myself to enjoy it in that same way,
mm,
as I do now, and also because I like to go out and I like to present myself in the best way that I possibly can. So I'm not hiding anymore. So I want to be as fabulous, and so I'm enjoying treating myself. I see the value in doing things for myself. It would be that my accountant would say, "Well, you need to get something, or you need to spend," but now actually I'm able to say I'm allowed to treat myself. So yeah, and it's a real positive.
I mean, what is it all for? I mean, of course, there's our contribution to the world and the legacy and the, impact and all of that. But yeah, but when you're often asked if you work with a coach, what is your big why? Um, what's yours? Do you know? Have you ever thought of that, or do you have that clear in your mind?
Um, I mean, I think my why is because I absolutely love it.
Mm, mhm,
I think Yeah, I mean, I work because I feel like defines me as a person, but not as a negative anymore. It defines me as a positive.
Yeah. And that's a real actually, it's a real creator, attitude to life. It's not about the destination or what I'm going to, it's the creative process. It's what this container, which is your company, your business, the work you do, is giving you, an outlet and, to create, isn't it?
But I love it now, and I mean, I've always loved work, but I feel now I really enjoy work. I suppose that's the difference. I mean, I've always loved it. It's a real passion of mine, and I got into it really young, but I really enjoy it now. But I definitely remember, yeah, after the work, definitely feeling stronger in meetings. And I used to get really anxious, and I've had the same business advisor for 30 years, and I used to always be saying to him almost weekly, "Oh, but what if it all goes tomorrow? What if it all goes tomorrow? And what if, you know, and why, you know, I'm not observing it? And do you think they're saying anything behind me? Do you think, do you think I'm, and you know, and now I definitely, you know, as I said, as to, you know, anyone, you never go completely without those wobbles, but they were like weekly, daily at times, where I could almost couldn't enjoy it because I was so questioning of myself, and I spent so much time worrying about what could happen or what might be happening or who could be saying something about me, that I kind of didn't even have any confidence in the role. I was achieving it, but through just putting in all the time as opposed to confidently achieving it. And I suppose the confidence that I got from work now means that you know, I'm so much more comfortable and confident. And you know, I work in a fashion industry, but it's garment production, so in a very male dominated, not in this country either, in a culturally very different country. And yeah, I don't have any fear of any of that, so it's perfect.
Oh, that's so great. So great.
I feel super happy even talking about it now. I feel really
Yeah, well,
good.
it's
I
wonderful to
feel
be
all
able
smiley. I
to.
just feel like even seeing you again, seeing your face, and strangely hearing your voice is just so very calming for me. That work, it just you give me this feeling of real kind of, you just, it makes me smile because I just feel like I was in a not good place, and it was really hard to come to see you with work. When I look at you now, I just think, my God, we really went through it, and it was the most difficult time. I'm not going to lie, you know, I'm really facing that was really, really difficult. And after that, even being brave enough, you know, which I haven't got into, and I won't, if that's all right, about, you know, it's other things that had sort of gone on, but even being able to talk to those about those things now more openly with friends, family, um, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely,
incredible. Yeah,
exactly. You know, it's it's really it's shame that keeps us prisoner. And these we've all got things that we would think, oh, if anyone ever knew this about me, I don't know if they could possibly love me. So I can never ever speak about this. And I often use that scene. I don't know if you've seen the film or if those listening have seen that film with Eminem called 8 Mile.
yeah,
And, you know, and at the end, it's the most powerful scene because he's got this rap battle, and he has to go first. And in the last time when he'd been in the rap battle, he was just destroyed. This guy just took him to pieces by, um, talking about all the ways he was failing in his life still. And he gets up and does a rap, and instead of attacking the other person, he just owns everything about himself that the other person could possibly ever say. And just diffuses the bomb. The guy's got nothing left, and he says, "Yeah, I live in a trailer park with my mum, and yeah, and he sort of just owns it all and says, "Yep, yep, I know, that's me, that's my life, and I accept that about myself." And when you accept yourself, when you tell your story in your own way, and you've owned it all completely, what can anyone do? There's no ammunition, and this is sort of, yeah, this is what lights up the dark, where you just welcome all the dark parts that you thought had to be exiled and locked away and say, no, you know what? You're welcome too. You're also welcome in me. I love you.
yeah, it's like a de-shedding almost. And like I said, it's not a, you know, shedding happens, you know, as a constant thing. And I still feel like I'm shedding some of those, you know, I don't feel like my work's finished, because I feel like it's just something that's, as I'm moving through life now with this different mindset and this different head, I'm shedding more and more as I'm going through. I
Yeah.
feel like it's a continual process that's just sort of stayed with me, really. I feel like everything that I approach, everything that I look at, I just have much clearer minds to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Um, And I genuinely think that would be the same for everybody, because I think it's so deep, you can't sort of imagine how good it is and what it can do for you, really, until you go through it.
Yeah. So if you're just thinking of, I don't know, someone who's listening to this, they've got hormonal ups and downs, or feeling bad about themselves, or social anxiety, or rage, or there's all sorts. This is the thing when we put a label of PMDD on something. If someone says, I've got PMDD, I said, that doesn't tell me anything. I want to hear about you. What's happening for you? A woman who's experiencing some kind of hormonal, emotional shift, let's call it that. Or if you could go back to yourself maybe 5 years ago, what would you want to say to younger Gemma?
I think I would say you're not alone, which is the most important thing, that there is kind of help out there, and not always help where you think it is. I know we all think we need to go to the doctors or do that, which often doesn't allow for any help. I would say that take the leap, take the risk, maybe, as it will feel like at that time. It definitely felt like a risk for me. I was really scared. I think I said to you, it was like a dam, that I was worried that a little bit trickled through all the time, but I was scared that if I suddenly opened it, it would be a floodgate and I might not even be the same person again. But when I'd said that to you at the time, I thought the person that the dam would open would be a negative one, because that's where I was. But I realised what the dam opening was to allow positive water to flow. So I would say to anyone, honestly, just let the dam open a little bit and stop letting all the negativity trickle through, and just take the risk, and you can swim, is what I'd say.
It's
I'm gonna get
amazing.
really emotional now.
My whole body's got
You can
goosebumps from that.
swim, but you can swim and you're not going to sink. So take the risk.
That's an amazing metaphor. I love that analogy. Yeah, the dam, afraid you're going to get washed away, but it's the water of life.
Yeah,
It's just going to stagnate. Don't let it
I know,
fall.
it's true. And when you realise that you can swim in it, honestly, it's the most amazing feeling. And then as you do a length, as you do a mile, as you swim every, you just keep on a bit like keep on running or whatever. You just keep on smart. You keep on swimming, and you're just getting better and better and stronger and stronger. And that's kind of weirdly, I don't know how we've come to that analogy, but it feels perfect. That's what I'd say. Just take the risk and put your arm. Need your armbands at the beginning, but you'll soon be throwing them away.
If you found this episode helpful, I'd love it if you could take a moment to rate and review the podcast. Your support helps us reach more women who might need this message of hope and healing. And don't forget to share this episode with anyone who could benefit from it, a friend, a sister, or someone in your community. You can follow me on Instagram at Natalie Ryan Hebert and at the Red Tent PMDD. I'd love to hear your thoughts and connect with you there.